You have a voice in your head that talks to you in a way you would never talk to someone you love. It tells you you're behind, that whatever you did just wasn't good enough, that they're going to find out. And for some of you, it doesn't even show up as a voice. You don't think, my critic says I'm not enough. You just think, I'm not enough. If that's you, you're not in an argument with your critic. You are it. Every strategy you've used on this voice is part of the reason it's still here. You've argued with it, tried to outachieve it, distracted from it, believed it. Different tactics, same result. It's still here. I'm going to draw you the exact loop that keeps it alive. Once you see it, the problem stops looking like a voice you need to defeat and starts looking like a system you've been living inside. Before I draw the loop, notice why everything you've tried has the same shape. Maybe you've tried arguing with it. It says you're going to fail, and you come back with evidence. No, I've actually achieved a lot. For about 10 seconds, it tends to quiet down. Then it finds the gap. Sure, but that was luck. And anyway, that's the bare minimum. You should be further along by now. Maybe you've tried achievement, staying productive enough that you don't have to hear it. And it works for a while. You hit the goal, you feel okay for an afternoon, then the bar quietly moves and you're behind again. The wins don't seem to accumulate, they reset. Or maybe you avoid it. This is the one people don't admit to because it doesn't look like a strategy. It just looks like a Tuesday night. You feel the voice winding up, you're behind, you should be doing more. And you reach for something that takes the edge off. The phone, a drink, another episode, food you weren't really hungry for. You're not relaxing, you're getting away from it, and it's still there in the morning. And then there's the one that looks like the opposite of all these, but is actually the most exhausting. You believe it completely. So you try to do everything it asks. You over-prepare, you stay late, you answer the message immediately. You become the most reliable person in the room. From the outside, it looks like discipline. From the inside, it's obedience dressed up as responsibility. And it's never enough. Notice what every one of these has in common. Different responses, same war. And every one of them fails the same way. Not because you did it wrong, because the war itself is the problem. Let me show you the part almost everyone misses. Underneath every one of those responses, the same thing was happening. There's the critic telling you you're not enough, and then there's another part of you that jumps in to respond. It's either pushing back, we're trying to prove ourselves, we're running from it, complying. But stop and ask, who is that? Who is the part doing the responding? Well, that's also you. It was never you versus the critic, it was you versus you. And you can't win a war when you're on both sides. Every attempt to overpower this voice becomes another way of turning on yourself. And on the rare day you do win, the part of you that won is wrecked because it's been fighting itself the whole time. So the problem isn't that you haven't fought hard enough. It's that fighting was always the wrong level of the problem, which means what works isn't another response. It's understanding why this voice is there at all. Here's the reframe, and stay with me even if your first instinct is to reject it. Your inner critic is not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to prevent something it believes would be far worse. I know how that sounds. The thing that calls you worthless, that keeps you up at night, that ruins your wins, that's trying to help. It feels cruel. It is cruel. But cruelty and protection aren't opposites. And to be clear, this doesn't mean the critic is right. It doesn't mean it's kind. It doesn't mean you should listen to it. It means it has a job. The job is to stand between you and a feeling. Not just any feeling of I'm not good enough in the vague self-help sense, something underneath that. Worthless, unwanted, alone, exposed, like if people really saw you, they'd leave. That's the feeling the critic is guarding. Somewhere along the line, that feeling became unbearable. So a part of you took on the job of making sure you never had to feel it directly. And the strategy it landed on was this. If I attack you first, you'll never be caught off guard. If I keep you ashamed and striving, you'll never be exposed as not enough. If I'm harder on you than anyone else could be, maybe no one else's criticism will land. That's the strategy. It stands guard over the feeling so you never have to feel it directly. And this is where every response from before fails in the same way. Whether you've been pushing back, trying to prove yourself, running from it, or complying, none of that touches the thing the critic is actually guarding. The voice isn't the problem. The voice is the bodyguard, and it will not stand down because it doesn't believe you can survive what's behind it. No wonder it digs in when you come at it. You'd dig in too if someone attacked you while you were just trying to do your job. Now, here's the part that changes how you see the whole thing. Let me draw it.
Okay, so this is the critic, and you're probably quite familiar with its lines. You're behind. You're not good enough. You should have known better. They'll find out. Then here's what we've been talking about, the part most people miss. The critic has a job. It's standing guard over a feeling underneath. We'll get to that soon. Now, some of you hear this voice as a voice. It feels separate from you. But for some of you, there's no gap. You're not hearing the critic. You're seeing the world through it. There's no daylight between you and the circle. Hold on to which one you are. It changes the way out. For now, the critic is running. What happens next? There's always a response. And it lands as one of the three. Some of you fight, you argue, you push back, you prove it wrong, you out-achieve it. Some of you take flight. You avoid, you distract, you numb yourself out, reach for whatever takes the edge off. And some of you comply. You believe it. You over-prepare, you stay late, you do everything, you become the person no one can criticize. And complying with it is tricky because it's one of the tougher ones to separate from. Now, stepping back, here's what almost everyone gets wrong. They think the problem is the critic. It isn't. The problem is this, the back and forth. The critic attacks, shames, pressures you, and whichever response you give, the critic has new material. So you fight it and it says, see, you're unstable. You avoid it and it says, see, you can't cope. You obey it and it says, see, you're only okay if you perform. The distress was never in one circle or the other. It lives in the rally between them. Our job here is to see through this constant battle and avoid fueling this loop further. So why does any of it keep running? Underneath all of it is this, the feeling that was already there before the critic ever spoke, worthlessness, unwanted, exposed, that you are not worth someone staying for. That's the raw thing the critic took the job of guarding in the first place. So all this fighting, fleeing, complying, the rally, none of it soothes the feeling underneath. It confirms it. Every round is more evidence. So here's the whole thing in one line. The feeling the critic is trying to protect you from is the exact feeling the loop keeps recreating. So if it says you're not good enough, you try and prove it wrong, but can never live up to its standards of perfection. So that feeling underneath the worthlessness, that feeling comes back up. The critic sees this and then comes back even louder. The critic says, see, you couldn't cope. You really are alone. You really are too much. You really are not enough. That's the loop. The problem was never the critic. The problem is the loop, and you've been living inside it.
This loop isn't abstract. It runs in tiny moments all day. It's rereading a text 4 times before you send it. It's putting off starting the thing because you already feel behind on it. It's saying yes when you meant no because the no felt like it might cost you something. It's the compliment that just slid off because the critic was already saying, they're only being nice. It's lying awake, replaying the one thing you got wrong today instead of the 10 you got right. And the cruelest part is that none of this looks dramatic from the outside. You don't look like you're at war with yourself. You just look productive or reliable, easy to be around. But underneath every one of those moments, the same thing is happening. A part of you is working to keep you from landing in that old feeling. Worthless, unwanted, exposed, alone. The feeling you did almost anything not to feel directly. And those tiny moments aren't tiny. They're the same loop that decides what you chase, who you stay close to, what you say yes to. The biggest shape of your life is made out of them. If some of this feels uncomfortably familiar, that's the point. That's the loop becoming visible. And that's good because you can't change a loop you can't see. So here's the real question. If pushing back or trying to prove yourself, running from it, complying, all just feed the same loop, what actually breaks it? Remember when I drew that first circle and I said for some of you, it isn't a voice that you hear, it's just what feels true. The only reason you could see that was that just for a moment, you were standing outside it. You were looking at it with me. From inside, it doesn't look like a loop. It just looks like your life. That step, from being it to seeing it, is the first real move. Everything else depends on it. And I want to be honest about this. If you spent years standing inside that circle, the step out isn't always available the first time you reach for it. The voice is closer than your own skin. There isn't a gap to step into yet. This is the work. The gap is something you build, not something you find. But once that gap starts to open, once the voice is something you can look at instead of a fact you're drowning in, you can finally do the thing you've never done with it. You can turn towards it. Stop asking, how do I shut this up? Start asking, what is this trying to stop me from feeling? Not how do I get rid of you? What are you so afraid would happen if you stopped? Because it's been doing a job. It's been afraid that if it steps back, you'll be exposed, abandoned, found out. It's been holding that line alone for a long time. Maybe no one has ever really asked it what it's actually protecting. When you turn toward it instead of attacking it, something shifts that fighting never could. The critic doesn't need to be defeated. It needs to learn that the feeling it's been guarding can be felt and survived. That you won't be destroyed by it. That you can be with it. And as that starts to happen, the critic can finally do the thing it never could. It can rest. Not because you beat it, because it no longer has to hold the line alone. And here's what's on the other side of that. The energy that's been going into the loop comes back. The goals that were built around keeping the feeling away start to loosen. And underneath them, you will start to find what's actually yours. I'll be straight with you. This is not a one video trick. It's a capacity you build gradually. And if the feeling underneath is overwhelming, that's work to do with another person, not alone with a video. But it starts by seeing the gap, seeing the loop instead of living inside it. One last thing, and it's the most important. We've been talking about the inner critic, but your version of this might not sound like a critic at all. For some of you, it's a driver, a part that never lets you stop, never lets you sit down, treats rest like it's dangerous. For some of you, it's the opposite, a part that went quiet a long time ago. And now there's just numbness or this absence of feeling. For some of you, it's a part that scans every room, every text, every silence, looking for the first sign that someone is pulling away. These are different strategies, different feelings underneath, but every one of them is running the exact same system you just watched me draw. Something working overtime to protect you from a feeling, and producing the very feeling it's protecting you from. The inner critic is one version of the pattern. This channel is about the pattern itself, the ways we try to protect ourselves from pain and end up building our lives around the thing we were running from. So here's where to start. The workbook I mentioned earlier, Find Your Loop, does exactly what we just did, but for your version. What your specific loop guards, what it's costing you, and how to catch it. Links in the description. Find your loop. The work begins when you can see what you've been living inside.